Welcome back to In the House with Beth and Ryan. I'm Beth, and this is Ryan.
Today, we are going to talk about a few of the things we learned in 2025 in the Guelph real estate market, because there were some interesting things that happened. And we want to talk to you about those. But first, if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel and you're watching it on YouTube, give us a subscribe. That would be nice. And also, we have a podcast that I record every few weeks, and it's at 500 downloads.
Wow.
500. It's a little project. I decided I would promise myself I would do 100 episodes, and I'm at number 30 now. And who knew that there'd be someone interested in an audio format of the global real estate market? But there is. And we also do a blog on our website every 2 weeks that gives an update of the real estate market with some of the facts and data about what's going on. So you can also find that on our website, bethandryan.ca.
All right.
All right. Enough of that.
Yep. Take a look at, so we're going to start by taking a look back at our big takeaways, I guess, from the 2025 market in Guelph.
Right. So one of the big ones is that the market changed a lot in 2025. And for those of you who bought or sold a house during the peak of the madness, that would be probably between 2020 and 2022, the market has changed a lot. And I think that in a lot of cases, expectations had to change, both from a buyer perspective and from a seller perspective.
We all kind of felt during that period that things were not sustainable. So I think in the big picture, this is a good thing.
Yeah. And yes, it's going to be a bit of a shakeout. And I think long-term, it's going to be a good thing. Unfortunately, the only downside is those who bought during that period and need to sell or want to sell, there's going to be a bit of pain there. However, what we do tell clients is that if you're buying and selling in the same market, you may find that selling is a tougher time, but buying, you should get the benefit of a different market.
Right. Typically, you're going to win on one side.
And so one of the things that we realized in the market is that pricing is more important than ever. And where we used to be in a seller's market and sellers were sort of in control of what happened in the market, that moved away this past year. And in some cases, depending on what it is you were selling, which we'll get into, it actually moved into a buyer's market. And for many sellers, that was a difficult pill to swallow. And, they still wanted to have the ability to get multiple offers, were sometimes frustrated with the way the market was going, the way the showings were going, the way the offers were coming in, because
it's always hard when you look back just a few weeks or a few months prior to when you're entering the market, in terms of entering it with your house being on the market or looking for a house and feeling like you just missed something.
Right.
And kind of almost wishing that you were back how things were a few months ago. And so there was a lot of kind of sellers almost wanting to test that. Like, do we really need to bring the house down? Can we not really list for what my neighbor sold for 6 months ago? And I think we saw that the market was heading in that direction, and now we really are there.
Yeah, we really are there. Yeah, it's true. And I think to Beth's point, if a seller wanted to test the market and list at a price that their neighbor sold for a year ago, or what they remember their house being worth 2 years ago, they were punished pretty quickly by the market. And unfortunately, the market in some cases the buyers dictated where the price was going to go. And if a seller really wanted to sell, they would have to come down to what the market was willing to pay. And that alone resulted in many, many cancellations where buyers and sellers just couldn't come together. And overall transaction volume as a result, it could be a contributing factor, was down about 6%. And so we did find a lot more cancellations that happened in the market as well. It was great for buyers because buyers were able to come into the market with conditions again, financing, home inspection, and in many cases, as the purchase price got higher, buyers could come in with a sale of property condition to ensure they were protected so that they could sell their house without committing to buying the other house first.
Which really, when you think about things and from a big picture perspective, having those conditions is really the best case scenario. It protects everybody, makes the transaction much more transparent. People know what they're buying.
Yep.
And yeah, protecting yourself financially too from potentially owning two houses or being in a position where you can't close or who knows, panic when you potentially are going to be carrying two properties.
Yeah. And, it depends on what your motivation is and what your situation is, because everybody is different. But sellers, I think, as the year moved on, realized that sometimes accepting an offer with a condition of sale of property wasn't necessarily a bad thing if you had the right escape clauses in place, or if it was the best offer you were going to receive. Sometimes, we had situations where someone bought a house with an escape clause, and on a couple of occasions actually, and they worked out.
Yeah.
And so they do happen, and they do work out, and it is becoming more of the norm.
And it does require more of your realtor too.
Yep.
So it's another situation or another example of where it is actually really important to make sure you're working with somebody who understands the market and how all of these things work, because it's not like it was thinking back again to 2022 where everything happened so quickly. There are more moving parts now, and there's more understanding required to make sure that things move along smoothly.
Yeah, and the wording in these agreements is especially important, because a couple of missed words or incorrect words could result in somebody selling their house without being able to buy another house and end up being in a position where they don't have any house at all.
Right.
So the wording is very important, and having local relationships with other realtors is also very important. So it just goes to show there is a benefit to using a local realtor. It's why we don't sell outside of our market, because we only know our market, and then we know our market well. Within the market, there are some key differences. There are some neighborhoods that are selling quicker, some that are selling a little bit slower. The fastest neighborhood is the General Hospital neighborhood for last year, as an example. Sold in the shortest number of days. Do you remember the longest?
I think it was Court East.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It took the longest.
Yeah, and there's a few reasons that we can kind of speculate about in terms of why that's the case. General Hospital, for the most part, the price point of houses there is kind of in the $700,000 to $900,000 range, which is a really active segment of the market. And you're getting more detached houses, which we're going to talk a little bit more about, but those are also moving relatively quickly relative to condos and townhouses. And then in Court East, you're looking at, I guess, kind of two things in that neighborhood: higher price point detached homes, but then also some condos and student type buildings.
Yep, take a little bit longer to sell. And the days on market includes all the conditions too. So if someone is buying a big house in Court East and they need a condition of sale of property, that also rolls into the number. So it is another factor for that neighborhood.
Right.
The other thing that we noticed was the sale price versus the original list price. We won't get into the specifics in the video, but if you want to know, let us know. But there were some neighborhoods where the original list price was just too high, and it was consistent within the neighborhood, and the market brought it down. And as a result, it had a lower sale price to the original list price than other neighborhoods. Some of them had
as a percentage, lower compared to the original.
Essentially, there were some neighborhoods that were being consistently overpriced when they came to market, and we have some of those details. Like I said, if you want to get into it, we can give you more of those details. And the second thing that we noticed in the market, which became pretty obvious, and it still continues to be a bit of a gap, is the difference between a freehold home and a condo in the Guelph market. And it really became a tale of two markets, especially towards the end of the year, where detached homes continued to sort of hold their values, and the condo market, which includes condos, townhouses, and apartment condos and stacked, anything with a fee, started to slide.
And we saw that slide, I think, started even before this past year, but it just kind of continued. Where when we saw things, that we talk about the curve and what happened to prices during COVID, when everything kind of went up to these crazy numbers and then came back down, it felt like detached homes have stabilized and the condo market is still continuing to slide a little bit lower.
Yeah. And, in the condo market, we would see an average of, earlier in the year, we saw an average of just over one. I think it was 1.5 sales per day on average. You could bank on happening in condos. And by the end of the year, it was less than 1.6, 0.8 per day. And with the amount of inventory we had almost 9 months of inventory available in the condo market,
which is describe what that means.
Well, if you take the average of the past 3 months, how many were selling per month, and you divide that by the number of houses or condos that are currently on the market, it gives you the months of inventory. And we had enough product on the market based on the current sales trends to last 9 months. That's a lot.
Of course, if you think about supply and demand, when you have that much supply, the demand, it's very difficult to catch up to it.
Yep.
And so then you see prices soften.
Right. And as opposed to, and that note on condos, and there continued to be more built. So not only did we have a lot of supply, but we also had new developments coming to the market in almost all parts of town.
Versus detached freehold homes in particular.
Right. There was almost
really
none.
Don't see many of those being built. And so, of course, that helps to kind of solidify their value.
Yeah. Yeah. When there's nothing and there's no new supply coming and you have limited supply available, especially under $1 million, there is going to be some sort of floor on that because buyers only have so many options.
And especially, just as a side note, especially bungalows, we saw were kind of the strongest subcategory within the detached freehold.
Yeah, they were by far.
Bungalows continue to be sought after, and they continue to hold their value compared to even other detached homes.
Yeah, just because I think they're just more versatile.
They're very versatile.
First-time buyers, downsizers, investors who want to make 2 units. There's a larger buyer pool, and when you have a larger buyer pool, it creates greater demand.
Yeah.
So overall, a tale of 2 markets in the Guelph real estate market that we think will continue into 2026. I think on that note, if you have any other questions on the market, always feel free to get in touch with us at bethandryan.ca, and we will do our best to help you out. Talk to you soon.